Today is Monday. I am just returning from a 33-mile cruise across the California, Los Angeles region. I'm supposed to be at work, but unfortunately, I did not feel like it. So I basically called in, take I don't know, a bike day, I guess. Call it a bike day. So pretty much, like most jobs, there's tends to be a lot of stress. So today I just woke up and I felt like, oh no, I don't think I can do it today. So, what's a better way to clear your head than a nice cruise across the city? Of course, Los Angeles is not idyllic for that type of association, but hey, what can you do? It's very dangerous. Traffic. Anytime I go out, I'm susceptible to any numerous accidents. So you definitely have to be on guard. Um, Try to make sure you know your surroundings. Be aware of the traffic. Sometimes I kind of feel that I wonder if people even know you're there because they drive so close to you. And the one that I really hate is when they get up on you and literally are hair lengths away from you and they blow the horn. And I mean, most car horns are pretty loud at that distance. And you're likely to lose control of your bike just because of the fear of, well, what was that? So by the time you find out what it is, you're just inches away from a bike wreck. So far, I haven't had that problem happen because I've been able to kind of tune a lot of things out while driving. But if you can by all means, avoid streets, highways, if you possibly can. I mean, 30 years ago, probably you could ride all day long and not have to worry about too many cars passing you. But now it's just like a unending train. Cars are just everywhere, and they don't really get to see you a lot of times. So you have to be more aware of your surroundings to address that circumstance. I have also, in my California range, just actually moved into a new house. So pretty much I'm down here in the garage. There's all these boxes, so apologize for that. But I'm also not so much focused on the move. My thing is, I try to pay what I pay, and I basically use all my free time riding. This bike that you see in front of you, this is a bike that I've had probably for about, oh, geez, probably 12 years. Telling my age there, but yeah, it's 12 years old. This bike's probably got 30,000 miles on it. I'm kind of surprised it's held up. There have been some incremental little problems with it. Definitely blown a couple of rims. I've had some issues with my mechanical circumstances, especially in the rear derailleur areas. I've worn out several cassettes. The cassettes, at one point, I was starting to think they were melting like butter. But then when I looked at my yearly mileage, those cassettes they're not designed to last forever. I know a lot of people do get a lot of mileage out of their cassettes because they tend to ride on them even after they're worn out. But that causes some problems for me, so I tend to switch those cassettes as soon as they go. I want to say the only problem I have with this bike right now is a little rattling going on in the front derailleur area, but even my bike shop has not been able to figure that one out. I used to tend to try to fix these bikes myself. Time is so precious now, and I realize how much time I was spending trying to do it, so now I don't focus so much on it. This is just one of my road bikes. The other one is a Supreme bike that I just really just keep that thing stored at all times. This is my road bike that I use for my training on a regular basis. It's fully carbon, doesn't weigh that much. I think the only thing that may not be carbon even though they say it is probably the handlebars, but I'm not too sure that they are because they don't feel like the carbon handlebars on my other bike. The other bike's a little less weighty. I mean, maybe a pound difference or a half a pound difference. But for this bike to be 11 years old, it's impressive for me. It's a hard bike to ride. You really have to be in pretty good shape to keep this bike up. It's only a 105. I kept it because I couldn't get a decent offer for it after the pandemic hit. That's when I bought the other bike. And if you've been out there looking at bikes lately, they are extremely expensive. My other bike, I'm not going to give the name brand, but it cost me over $12,000. This bike has a lot of the same fundamental features other than the gearing. It's a harder ride. The wheels, I'm just switching off my carbon wheels. I'm going back to the aluminum wheels because of the weather change that we've got. And I kind of, got to check these wheels too because this has been a pretty hard summer on my carbon wheels. So I'll definitely be checking those out for cracks or dents. I know I've hit a ton of potholes, and I mean, even a small potholes or cracks in the street can be very damaging to a road bike if you hit them with any girth. It seems like I tend to have to stand on the bike 80% of the time while I'm riding it, so I don't really experience what they call sore rear because I'm not really sitting on the bike all that much or just scaving the seat. I did, as far as expenses for this bike has cost me very little, I want to say, over the years. The biggest expense I think I've had on this is I've had to go through two of the Garmin, trying to edge in on this, the Garmin computers. This current one is the 1050. And basically the Garmin 1050, it's a good computer. Well, actually, the 1050 is on the other bike. This is the 1040. My apologies. So this is the 1040. So I've spent quite a bit of time with this computer on the 1040. I do also have a 1030. The 1030 was somewhat impressive to some degree. The only difference really in the 1040 and the 1030, probably a newer interface. They put a couple of more bells and whistles in there. For instance, you can now operate your, like if you listen to music on your rides or whatever, or jazz or up tempo music, whatever it is you listen to. I actually have a friend that tends to listen to rally speeches, while he's riding his bike. But I tend to listen to some of the old stuff I used to listen to when I was a kid that I liked. Got a little special mix that I mixed in just long enough. It's 2 hours of just nonstop. And I listen to that, and it helps, sort of with the process of dealing with a lot of the hills. Do climb a lot of, 8% hills around here. They tend to wear me out. I think it's because of my age now. I think I'm getting to that point now where these severe, it's like every time I get on a bike now, I'm checking the arbs, and I see so many hills, and like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this today or not, but then I go ahead and do it anyway. But what's my training plan like? Well, I'm out there pretty much 4 to 5 days a week at 33 miles each distance. I've got like 2 or 3 different trails I use. Most of the trails that I go, when I say trails, these are street trails, but trails as in the theology of making that trip on a bike, but they're all in the street. So I'm going up Sunset Boulevard. I mean, sometimes I even go into the hills, depending on how well I feel. But, Sometimes those hot days and, depending on what you've dealt with all week for your job, they can be a little stressful on you. So I tend to go into the hills sometimes just for a little bit of breeze off the ocean or whatever have you, if there's any out there. Yeah, I'm changing out my call these my road wheels, which they're all carbon. The aluminum ones I just put on here just a few minutes ago. The aluminum ones tend to be, in my opinion, a little bit more stable. They can handle the potholes, and these carbon wheels can be pretty expensive. So I tend to only use them during the summer, and then come fall, I pull them off and go with the aluminum wheels. This bike, I probably have 30,000, maybe more miles on this bike. I basically planned to keep it. Decided to go with two bikes after I saw what was happening with bike prices and whatnot. So I want to say this bike was about maybe 4,000 when I bought it 10, 15 years ago. But today, I don't know what it would be worth. But, it's been such a sturdy bike. I'll tell you, this brand makes very good, strong bikes, but they very, very, very much are hard to ride. This is not a bike you can just jump on and sort of fluidly, this bike, it's almost like it's designed to be hard to get you up, because I gotta tell you, honestly, when I first bought it, it took me a minute to get used to how tough it was to ride. I can say I can pull my other bike out that I paid 12,000 for, get on it. It's sort of smooth like butter. But this one here is more like oil with rocks in it. So yeah, it's strong, it's sturdy, it does the job, it's fast to some degree. It's been an enjoyable bike. It's helped with my overall training. I didn't want to get rid of it because, like I said, it's got some sentimental value to it at this point. I will be hanging on to it. But I just wanted to give you all some idea of what it's been like to ride on this bike and the mileage and whatnot. I did want to point out one thing about the Garmin systems. I've got 3 of them. I'm using 2 specific. The other one's kind of sock drawered. But the thing is, the 1030, I don't know. I had about 20 something thousand miles on that particular one because I've had that for quite some years. And of course, they tell you can transfer your mileage and your figures and all of that from one device to the other. Well, that's true to some degree and not true to the other. And when I say that, basically what I mean is I transferred the 20,000. I attempted to transfer. I thought everything was there. Opened up the new one. I was like, well, great, because I was having so many problems with the 1030. Sometimes it would lock up and it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't, programs would start to just collapse or whatever. And basically I was just trying to get rid of it. So I got the 1040 and the 1050 here recently. And basically the collapse was the problem. So that's why I didn't want to lose all of my stats. I kind of like to keep my stats. Well, I do have Garmin, your so-called Garmin Connect and all that, but it's just time consuming dealing with all that. I don't have that kind of time. So, picking up something, go and being able to see is great. Well, unfortunately, when you do make those transfers, it's only kind of transferring your localized information, like your presettings, those kinds of things like that. But as far as all of that information about your history, your mileage and all that, I think it captured about maybe 1% of my rides. And I was like, oh, wow, they're here. But then when I started realizing, when I went to the history page, I was like, wait a minute, they're not here. Only about 1% of the 30,000 miles, well, at that time, 20,000 miles on that particular device I only captured about maybe 2,000 miles on the transfer. Not sure why that is. I would just really love to get the mileage off the other one, but unfortunately that thing collapsed. I had to reset it, and when I reset it, everything was gone on the 1030. So this is just my experience with road biking. I don't participate in gyms. I tend to try to keep my health in some degree by biking. I don't know if it's helped or it hasn't, but I do tend to think that all of this pain that I feel like I've gone through with riding a bike, the soreness, um, sometimes I feel like the next day I feel like I'm just going to collapse because I've been doing a lot of miles. But if you let your body repair, you feel great. The problem is when you're riding 3 or 4 days a week, it's kind of hard to repair. Anyway, thank you for listening to my story. Stay out there, stay safe.